Tonight, Swedish prosecutors have dropped their investigation into the rape allegations against Julian Assange. Now, remember, that investigation and the reams of press and the hours of television coverage that it got is kind of used as a pretense to go after Assange and eventually put him in jail, right, where he is now. NRS correspondent Michele Greenstein has been following this story for us all day long. What'd you find out?
Well, today we learned that the Swedish prosecution authority has decided to discontinue its investigation into the rape allegations against Mr. Assange that began in 2010. Now, this is after 9 years, and it's the third time that this investigation into rape allegations has been dropped. In fact, Sweden's deputy director for public prosecution said that it cannot be proven that a crime has been committed, that the evidence is not strong enough to form the basis for an indictment, and that in such a situation, the preliminary investigation should be discontinued. So that's what happened. She also says that the reason for this decision is that the evidence has weakened considerably given the amount of time that's gone by. So we have to ask ourselves, how is it possible that time has allowed evidence to weaken? If there's evidence, then it shouldn't matter how much time has gone by, right? So let's take a closer look at these unproven allegations, right? Because Assange has always maintained that he's, quote unquote, entirely innocent, but we're supposed to believe women, right? So let's listen to what these women are actually saying. The first woman in question, let's say her name, it's Anna Arden. She told the police that she had consensual sex with Mr. Assange, but that it was forceful and that he ignored her request to use a condom. But you may notice that there's already no allegation of rape here. It was consensual sex, but that she, takes issue with the fact that she calls it forceful. But what's interesting about Miss Arden is that she actually has ties, Rick, to U.S. and CIA-backed Cuban dissident groups. In fact, she was expelled from Cuba because of these ties. Now, let's move on to the next young woman, because Assange is also alleged to have sex with a woman named Sophia Weiland. And then allegedly, both of these women got into contact with one another over the phone and shared their concerns, shared their similar experiences that they allegedly had with Mr. Assange. Then Arden goes with Weiland, the second woman, to take a DNA test and tries to get Assange to take a DNA test, and she accompanies this other woman to the police station to try to make him take one. And the police officer, interestingly enough, was actually Anna Arden's friend. Now, that's not illegal, but it is certainly interesting. But what may be even more interesting is that the interaction between these two women and the police officer was not recorded, neither with audio or video, and that's against police protocol. And even more interesting, Rick, is that the fact that the police officer in question said that the reason this interrogation, this questioning was not recorded was because she could not find a working dictaphone. In fact, when the police announced that Julian Assange would be arrested and questioned in connection with these allegations, Sophia Weiland, the second young woman, actually broke down, and she said to have refused to give any more testimony. She said she was shocked that this would even happen, and she also refused to sign any legal documents saying that Julian Assange raped her. In fact, according to Assange's statement in 2016, she was so shocked when he was arrested because she only wanted him to take a DNA test that she actually said via text messages that we now have in court documents that she, quote, did not want to accuse Julian Assange for anything and that it was the police who made up the charges.
This is fascinating, but it leaves us with this question. Take those charges, those accusations, that investigation away, and you're left wondering why Assange is still behind bars and when the hell he's going to get out.
Right, because now we even have this new indictment from the United States Department of Justice, right? In May, the DOJ announced these 18 charges, right? That includes these allegations that he conspired with Chelsea Manning to leak documents, essentially to violate the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. So the government is saying that he helped Manning crack this password to a DOD computer, and the government is essentially trying to build this case that Assange helped steal documents, because if it's just about publishing, then the New York Times, the Washington Post are all liable for the same prosecution.
But we're running out of time, so I have to ask you, I remember there was an agreement that Ecuador signed saying they can't extradite him to the United States because the United States has a capital punishment.
They did say that.
Is that not going to be honored?
And then we also had Ecuador allegedly saying that they were now going to start negotiating with the U.S. In exchange for debt relief. So there's a lot of political things going on here. But I think what's really interesting is that according to journalist John Pilger, in 2008, the Pentagon actually had a secret document that foretold this plan to discredit WikiLeaks and actually smear Assange personally. They said that the mission was to destroy the trust that was WikiLeaks' center of gravity, and that this would be achieved with threats of exposure and criminal prosecution.
Media you can't control. It is media that is dangerous.
It's a threat to the state.
Good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The Bullet Train.